So for this recipe, we're going to make a dough first, pizza dough. So I got 3/4 cup of water, warm water, adding 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using olive oil. We're going to add 2 cups of flour. Like I said, we're going to add 2 cups of flour, and that is all-purpose flour. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of yeast. We're going to mix this together and then let it rise. This recipe says to let it rise for 40 minutes. So while we're doing the 40 minutes, I'm going to brown my toppings because we're making homemade pizza today. So while we're waiting for that to rise for 40 minutes, we're going to brown our hamburger because I'm making hamburger pizza today. Of course, I'm going to add some chopped onions to it and some chopped green peppers. So next thing, the recipe says to knead this for 1 minute. And I don't have my hands floured. I should have floured them, but I didn't. And I'm using the bowl to knead. So now we let the dough rest for 15 minutes. Because we did knead it out. And I did add flour. So now the recipe says to roll it out on a pizza pan. I'm not going to do that, y'all. You know how I make recipes my own. We're going to just push it out like that and roll it out a little bit. And then I'm going to put it on my old pizza pan. Now we let it rise for 25 minutes. And while I'm letting it rise, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven. Because that way it'll give it. And we're going to be preheating it at 400 degrees. So while we're letting our crust rise, let's go ahead and make the sauce because this recipe has a sauce with it. In a bowl, you're going to add a 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. And yeah, I kind of not using homemade this time. We are going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar. Teaspoon, hold on. I want to make sure I get this right. So 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, 4 teaspoons of garlic, and we're going to add salt and pepper to this, about 1/4 teaspoon of both. So this next ingredient I found interesting. That's why I picked this recipe. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of salsa. Yep. And I got the thick and chunky kind. And of course mild. And then we're going to mix this all together and have it ready. It will be ready when our pizza gets done rising for the last time. Looks like it rose beautifully. Now we're going to put our sauce on there. I'm going to put the sauce on there in a minute. Now our meat source, which I decided to do hamburger meat. As with our beef recipe project. Load it down with recipe with beef. And you want it to a certain deal of a certain, not all the way up to the edge. And this is going to be a hamburger pizza. So for sure. Now I'm going to add some onions. You don't have to. Make the pizza your own. Choose what ingredients you add. So I'm going to add some peppers and some onions to it. Now we're going to add the cheese, and since I got Monterey Jack cheese, that is what I'm adding. A recipe does call for cheddar, but I'm using what I got. I'm a firm believer of doing that. Use what you got when you can. So, and we're going to add some Parmesan because I did make some roasted asparagus spears and I used the real stuff. So I'm going to add Parmesan to this. Now we let this bake for 20 to 25, well, 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to go gear on 20 minutes since I do bake in a toaster oven and it seems to bake faster.